Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. My name is Marcus Spard, and I have another dear friend with me here for this month's hero study, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to my friend John Estey. John, welcome.
Hi, happy to be here.
So John is a friend of mine from our Dungeons and Dragons group. He is, I shouldn't just call it the Dungeons and Dragons group because we call ourselves the Fellowship of the Dice, and we do dabble in a lot of other rule sets and everything. But it was through these tabletop role playing games that I got to know John, and he is a thespian. He is an educator and just an all around great guy. So I'm thrilled to have him on.
Ah, you're too kind.
I try. So, John, let's just go ahead and start at the top. And I want to just ask if you will share with us some brief snapshots of important moments in your
Oh, okay. Well, how much
life.
time you got?
As brief as you want to be.
Um, well, I think to start with, I grew up in a small town. It had only a handful of thousands of people, and my graduating class was somewhere in the under 200 range. I think there was 120 of us. But yeah, small town values, and knowing at a young age that I was gay and didn't fit in with beliefs around the town, it made it a little challenging to want to stick around. And when I did graduate, I got out of there.
Hmm.
Ironically, my I wanted to go to WSU Tri-Cities and stay at home because I also have a fear of change. We'll talk about that later.
Hmm.
But my mother said, "No, son, I think you need to go somewhere else and have that freshman experience." And then I only came back for holidays in the summers. So I think that those words ended up backfiring. I came back to teach at my own high school. So despite wanting to get the hell out of there after 5 years away, I was like, you know what? I know more about myself. I'm more confident about myself. I think I can come back and be okay. And they were also the only place that gave me an interview. So that
Mm.
definitely influenced things. But when I did come back, people were very supportive. There were other LGBTQ people in the teaching staff. So I didn't feel quite as far as a fish out of water. Plus, I was a teacher then. So
Mm.
that kind of shifted the dynamics. Um, I've never had particular luck in relationships romantically until this last one. And those are stories that I could tell, but good vibes, right?
Good vibes.
So,
Actually, no, the thing with this is a safe place to talk about whatever.
okay. So I guess those are less snapshots and more summaries.
Yeah.
So is that
Yeah.
okay? Does that
Nope,
qualify?
yep, that's totally fine.
Okay, good, good.
Pretty certain you've alluded to this a little bit, and I am curious, what is something in your life that you have had to overcome?
About myself in multiple senses. That phrase "get over yourself," yeah, that's me. I take things personally, and sometimes I need to remember to take myself out of the equation. First of all, the first thing that I needed to overcome about myself was my self-loathing. I knew that I had an inclination toward the masculine sex when I was in middle school, and then I labeled myself as gay in when I was 16, when I finally realized what that term actually meant.
Mm.
Um, and then when I was 19, I came out to my parents, and they did not take that well. Um, it was in the kitchen. Mom was making spaghetti, and Dad was there too. And she said, "Hey, when we're done with dinner, you need to help your father in the yard." And my boyfriend at the time and he was a piece of work, were having just a really rough patch. It being summer didn't help because he lived in Yakima, I lived in Prosser, and then when school was in session, he was at WSU, I was at Eastern, so there was always at least a half hour of separation. But when she said, "You need to help your father after dinner," I gave this big sigh, and she said, "That's not too much to ask, is it?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody. I'm having relationship troubles." And she said, "Relationship troubles with who?" And something inside me said, "I don't want to pal around this anymore," and said, "Well, I'm gay." And she was stirring the spaghetti. I saw out of my peripheral dad hanging his head, and then I don't remember what happened next, but I said I'm going for a walk because I couldn't handle the situation and the tension. So I go on a walk. I called my boyfriend at the time, saying what I'd done, and um, he comforted me, calmed me down after that. And then when I got back home, mom and dad were on the swing set together, apparently deep in conversation, and once they finally got back inside, we've never actually like talked about it. We've
Mhm.
talked around it, but the closest we came to a conversation was that night after she came in, and I was going to tell her goodnight, and she said, "This goes against everything we've taught you, everything the Bible has taught you." And I said, I'm not going to argue with you on that right now because emotions are raw. And she said, "You can't tell anyone about
Mhm.
this." And I said, um, "This doesn't change who I am."
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So with that, there was a lot of internalization. Like, if they don't love me, my own parents, how can I love myself?
Mhm.
And so I started having kind of steel my heart, um, banking on the fact that they weren't going to get over themselves, and that I was gonna have to say goodbye to them at some point and not look back. And so during the remainder of my college years, I kept communication with them pretty light just to kind of set up that separation for when it
Yeah.
eventually happened. But the changing moment for that was when, not that ex, the next one, broke up with me, and I told them about it, and they could see how much it hurt for me
Mhm.
and how real it was for me. Like, I think my mom thought it was a phase. Like, oh, he's at
Mhm.
college, he's experimenting. And but I think once they saw that it was real for me, it became real for them, and they were very supportive of me after that. Not like, night and day, let's go to the Pride Parade and wave the flags, but like, you're my son, this is who you are, and I'm gonna love you.
Mhm.
So, since then, they have been very supportive of me, and they love my fiance.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame them. He's pretty great.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what's not to love? He's a great guy. You're a great guy, and
Shucks.
I am so glad to hear that, especially coming from the conservative small town values that we tend to see, like especially though Kennewick's not really that much of a small town anymore, but it definitely has the more small town rural biases and um, just expectations that, considering you were expecting your parents to need to have that distance and protect yourself from that, that they were able to, instead of burning that bridge, they were able to construct one that works for both of you and just accept you for the person that you are. That's beautiful. I wish more people had that experience.
Me too. Me too. But yeah.
Now, I don't have that many LGBTQ friends.
Oh,
In
or
fact,
you.
you and Dan have been like the first ones since, oh, my friend Jenna in high school, who came out as trans. And I'm not going to dead name her or anything, but I did not handle that well back then. I gave into the horrible um, construct that I learned in the Christian church, that I was supposed to love the sinner but hate the sin. So I was telling Jenna that I loved her, but I couldn't accept this part of her. And I have since learned it's like, oh no, oh, that's not how that goes. Me saying I love you, but I don't accept this means that I don't love you.
Right.
Because to individuals like Jenna, to like you and Dan, this is who you are.
Mhm.
And saying that you can't accept that means that I can't love you.
Right.
So it's taken me it's been quite a journey for me to get over my own biases and like see the inherent value in everyone, whether they look, sound, or believe things differently than I do. And I'm so glad because I wouldn't have been able to met a spectacular human being like you
Ah,
and like Dan.
stop.
I know.
Stop.
I just keep flattering.
All right. Digital high five for personal growth in
High
the chat.
five. Love that. And yeah, it's considering considering where you grew up, and maybe some of it is I tend to be more biased towards hearing the stories where someone has had a terrible experience with this. I know that that's not everyone's story, but the people that have been like kicked out and ostracized by family, even when they're like teenagers and they need that familial support, hearing that that was your expectation, but it ended up just getting turned on its head, and instead you found love and acceptance. That is, oh, I love hearing.
Yeah, I will forever thank my lucky stars that there was enough love in my parents' hearts that they did not do that in
Yeah.
my situation. Because there are young LGBTQ folks who do have to go through that and have to find
Mhm.
ways of surviving. And um, I recognize that I'm very fortunate that that did not happen in my situation.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. And again, I wish more people had that experience.
Hmm. Just be
Uh,
nice to people. Is that so hard?
exactly. And it comes down to the golden rule.
Hmm.
Treat others the way you want to be treated. And I'm like
Right.
seeing how a lot of people treat others, it's like, man, you don't really want to be treated that well, do you?
Mm. Hmm. We
You know,
could
so
unpack that.
yeah, we could unpack that, but at the same time, you know the people I'm talking about
Yep.
when I make that.
I'm just gonna be here and sipping my tea.
Yeah, sipping the tea instead of spilling
Hmm. That
it.
means to internalize.
Yeah, exactly. Well, John, who is someone who has helped you get where you are today?
Oh my gosh, so many people. Where to begin? Is this gonna turn into like the Oscars where I start naming people for 30 seconds and the music starts playing and like then a shepherd's crook comes out and
Well, I'm hopefully it's not the same kind of story as when Lord of the Rings kept winning all the Oscars. You kept hearing the same names over and over and over.
but they deserved it.
Yes, they did. They did absolutely.
Um,
But
let's
no,
see.
I left my shepherd's crook in my other pants, so I
Oh,
don't
I
have that.
see. I see. Okay. Well, the next character I'm going to play ha was a shepherd, so actually I have it for my. I should add that to my costume.
You
Hmm.
should.
Yes, because uh, theoretically, at the next RadCon, we'll be as our Storm King's Thunder characters.
Yes. Yes. I am
Assuming
already
something
preparing
is
that.
okay, right? The vulture stuffy or
Yeah.
fleshy. But yeah, my character is a werewolf, and he used to be a shepherd, and then he got bit, and so a shepherd's crook, and then like clawed hands. That would be
I,
interesting.
I love the concept of someone who is supposed to take care of sheep turning into a werewolf who then is a predator to them.
Right?
I
Oh,
love
oh
it.
dear. It's a symbol, Marcus.
Yes, I know.
Um, but there have been quite a few people who have gotten me to where I am today. Um, my parents, of course,
Mhm.
very supportive, and then kind of, and then very supportive again. Um, my sister's in the same way for not taking any crap off of me. Um, I have my my grandparents, and I want to talk about one of them specifically for one of the other questions, but I also don't want to get off of this topic because, um, see who else. I've had very supportive teachers, and very supportive friends, but I think the person who has had the biggest influence on where I am at this moment right here is my lovely fiance Dan.
Hmm.
He came into my life when I needed him most. I had just gone through a very icky separation, with somebody who's parasite is a strong word, but I think it's accurate in this particular case. And so and this was me striking out in a serious relationship for like the third time, and so I was not feeling very confident about my prospects in that regard, thinking, oh man, maybe I just resign myself to living a lonely solitude existence. Um, but once we started talking to each other and getting to know each other, he was very supportive in helping me get through that separation, helping me move into my new space, and making sure that I was taken care of. We had dated for 3 months when the pandemic hit. And
Hmm.
so,
Yeah.
when I was living with my parents, because I had moved out of the old place, and before I moved into my new place, um, he took the initiative to say, "Hey, let's play Stardew Valley together and spend time together." He has usually taken, at least in those early months, the initiative to make sure that we're taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves. And so when I have various things that I want to do. I want to write, I want to design games, I want to play games, I want to study, and he is always there saying, "You can do it. You can
Hmm.
do it." Um, so he's always believed in me from like day one, and he sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. Love is beautiful.
Hmm.
Um,
It is.
every so often he'll send me a text message like, "Hey, can I pick you up something as a treat?" Um, and when I'm working hard on like my college degree, he'll say, "Hey, let me make dinner. Let me take care of that for you." Um, and yeah, and so he's been very supportive, and I like to think that I've been supportive back, and the two of us have made something good together. We have our own house, we have a kitty, we planted a tree.
Hmm.
That's how you know.
That's how you know. Absolutely. You plant those trees, they're going to be there for a long while.
It's true. Yes. Is that a metaphor? I feel like that's a metaphor.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Dan's my biggest fan and I'm a big fan of Dan. He's
Yeah.
my man.
Hmm. That is
And he believes I
great.
can.
Yeah. You're a poet and didn't know it.
That's a lie.
Oh, no, that is a lie. Yeah. You know you're a poet.
Yeah, don't I know it?
Don't you know it? So, John, you kind of touched base on this with the previous question, and I imagine we'll go into more detail here. This is one of my favorite questions to ask because to our friend listening here, it just shows this wide breadth of things that we can do that can just bring life and light to our lives, bring enjoyment, self care, things like that. So, what is something that you enjoy doing that you just come to life while doing?
Oh boy, I have a list.
I'm sure I expected nothing less.
Um, let's see. There's a psychological theory called the ludic impulse, which says we do things out of a motivation to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%. That's me.
yes, I feel like the ludic impulse is strong in me. Um, I like gaming. I like playing games, video games, board games, tabletop role-playing games, non-tabletop role-playing games, like journaling games, or I've never tried LARPing, but I might try it once. Once.
Once. That
Um,
that is a deep cut to people that are in our friend group.
it's almost basically an in joke at this point.
Yeah, it is.
And playing pretend. I love my life, but I love imagining what else could be. Because I want to be a wizard when I grow up, and playing pretend helps me get there. So gaming, writing. I do a lot of writing. It's been primarily um, autobiographical recently, but anyway, I like acting. Um, so I teach theater arts, and when I'm teaching English, I mean, there's enough out there that I can act as well.
Hmm.
Um, Performing, and so on, and and then maybe the complete opposite of those. I love data analysis. I love crunching numbers.
I
Helps
have
me make.
seen some of your spreadsheets.
Um, Yeah, so for those listening at home, I have an Excel workbook where I keep track of different characteristics of the gaming groups that I'm in. I have one that records member or membership of different people in the different groups. Um, uh, uh, a timeline of what games we played over what months, how many sessions it might have been. And I've just added one, Marcus, the number of character classes in D&D that have been utilized across different campaigns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Fighter is currently the most popular.
I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised.
But yeah, I like playing games. I like having fun. I like playing pretend
Yeah,
because what is life meant for if not to live it?
if not to live it. And I love using this comparison because if we take a look at children when they're
Hmm.
growing up,
Hmm.
they use pretend, they use fantasy as a means to interact with the world around them.
Hmm.
But then somehow we're told when we grow up that that's no longer something that adults do.
Right.
But we can still do that same thing in order to explore the world
Hmm.
in ways that we might not be able to any other way. So I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And achieving dreams is a form of playing pretend. You fake it until you make it. You have this concept of this pretend notion of where do I want my life to be, and then you have to take steps to go there. So we improve ourselves through playing pretend, through fantasy.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that is more and more on point for me, even just with some of our recent gaming sessions. It has helped me to grow more just interacting with you guys, interacting with, especially being the GM, the myriad characters that I get to embody. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very eye-opening
Oh
to
yeah.
the world around us.
Yeah. And every character I've played has been some sort of exploration into what would it be like to be this person? And how does that inform what I like about myself or what I don't like about myself? Who can I be? What ideas can I take from their interactions? For example, um, I really recently played a character. His name was Thalassa Blacktide. He was a very spooky boy, and he had let's see, there was a terrible storm. He had drowned, and at the moment before he like clicked over to being dead, this eldritch ocean creature said, "Hey, I'm gonna make you a deal. I'm gonna give you your life back, but you're gonna serve me." It sounds good. But he was very stoic, very cold, very aloof. Used fear as his primary social tactic, and it was fun while it lasted.
Hmm.
But it just reinforced to me that I didn't like being that kind of person.
Yeah.
It was fun to step into that role um, during those sessions, but once I said goodbye to the character, it was like a cold mist had been lifted off of my heart, and I knew I don't have to be like him anymore.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it's sort of like I created my own tension emotionally, and then I was able to release it.
Yeah. And that can be a very liberating experience
Hmm.
to release that tension. And it's, I think it's very similar to one of our recent sessions when you guys were in a no-win fight against,
Ah, fuck you,
and
Mordai.
but I remember very much looking forward to that encounter. But then as soon as I saw the frustration that you guys were experiencing, it was no longer a fun thing for me to do
Mm,
anymore. And to me, that reinforced it's like, okay, I really don't like playing this kind of a game. You
Hmm.
know, if we're playing something like 10 Candles and we know what the outcome is going to be, that is that's something to me feels more acceptable.
Hmm.
But when there is this general expectation that you guys are getting into an encounter and you can win that encounter, and then you guys get into this unwinnable one, it's I did not enjoy that.
Hmm.
So,
I think part of the frustration was more surprise. Like most of the encounters leading up to that were pretty handily won by the group,
mhm,
and so for us to go in guns blazing, yes, we're a little bit trepidatious because it's this guy and he's gotten a power up. Um, but to then be like, oh, we're not winning this. Oh, oh, this hasn't happened in a while.
mhm,
Um, so it was the whiplash, I think, of going from, yeah, nothing can stop us. Oh, we're being stopped.
mhm,
Oh. So it's the car going 70 miles an hour with "Don't Stop Me Now" blaring on the radio at 11 out of 10, and then having to slam on the brakes.
mhm. Yeah, and I imagine it goes down to that the analogy of when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Hmm.
And it's like you guys were that unstoppable force, and then you met this immovable object, and it was subverting all expectation. And yeah, I mean, their emotions were high
Oh yeah,
after that. They were very high.
for sure. But we talked it out. We used our word holes to borrow RPG clinics. They need to make a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
or I will buy it as a mug. That would be nice.
Hmm.
Just keep it turned towards my players the whole time.
Hmm.
But that goes back into narratively, I think it made sense. I think that was something that needed to happen for not only our characters to get their heads out of the clouds, but also from a narrative perspective, because in the hero's journey, there is that dark night of the soul where all hope seems lost. And
Hmm.
so Mordai kicked that off, and then it just kept going when it was like, oh, now the city's under attack. Now our home's under attack. So our lives, our allies, and our place of refuge were under threat. And we knew, okay, this is serious. And we
Yeah.
got to put our big boy pants on and finish this off.
and and that was exactly how it was intended to be.
Okay.
But at the same time, when it was done, kind of like with you and Thalassa, I'm like, I'm so glad to be done with that. I'm ready to move on from this
Hmm.
experience because that's just not where my heart is.
Right. As a young gamer, the one of the first pieces of advice I was given, and it took me a long time to shake off this particular bit of toxicity, is that tabletop RPGs are the GM versus the players.
Hmm.
And I think it was delivered with just a little bit of sarcasm. Because the person who taught it to me, his older brother was like one of those original D&D players where it kind of was that kind of experience.
Hmm.
Meant to like, okay, you overcame the odds, congratulations, you lived, and you have some riches for it. But gaming has evolved into more of a shared collaborative experience, and I
Yeah.
am 100% behind that. Um, but that bit of sarcasm that it was delivered with as a young gamer, I just absorbed that without reading too
Hmm.
much into it. And so, yeah, a lot of my early gaming experiences, both in front of and behind the screen, were okay, it's a fight. How do I outwit you?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, and it is, again, just talking about how we can use this to explore ourselves, the world around us. These have been very eye-opening experiences.
Yes.
And so that's why I love talking about this kind of stuff because
Yes.
because make believe and pretend are great ways to learn things about yourself.
Hmm. The first panel at RadCon, at the first RadCon I attended, was the good of being evil. And so it was the panelists talking about why it's actually beneficial and helpful and educational to play evil characters. One, because it is a tabletop gaming is a safe place to explore those curiosities about how you could have been, what it would be like to be a thief or um, a murderer or I'm trying to think of a hustler, somebody who manipulates
Hmm.
people.
Yeah.
There's a different term for that.
Con artist,
Con artist, grifter, that's it.
grifter. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, without having to do it in real life.
Yeah.
And quick tangent about that. One of my literary heroes is Ray Bradbury because he's just a cool guy and he knows a lot about writing. And he said one of the functions of art is to provide release to other people and to
Hmm.
yourself. So if you have a need to get some mournful emotion out, then it's the responsibility of the artist to provide you with something that will help you cry. If you
Yeah.
have some if you have a need to laugh, then it's the responsibility of the artist to give you humor. If you have a need to exact violence upon others, then it's the responsibility of the artist to give you something to vicariously
Hmm.
um, mur- commit violence or murder without having to do it in real life.
Yeah.
And so this panel was talking about you can explore those curiosities um, without actually hurting real life people, but you also don't, that doesn't give you permission to be a jerk
Yeah.
because you are still playing with a group of people and
Exactly.
and they advocated heavily against like um the players finding out that your character's a jerk versus the characters finding out that your character is a jerk. So you need
Yeah.
to if you intend on playing an evil character, they said that you kind of need to get permission from the rest of the group. They
Yeah.
need to know what they're getting on board for. They need to consent.
Hmm. Yeah. And it makes me think of when I worked at this print shop at my previous job, one of the printer techs that would come in, whenever you'd come in, we'd always talk about role playing games and everything. And he was sharing about how he was in this campaign and he was like the only, um, what was it, chaotic evil character.
Oh.
Maybe it wasn't chaotic. No, I think it was probably lawful evil. He wanted to play a Witcher from the Witcher series,
Oh, okay.
but every all of the other characters didn't know what his alignment was, and they were all like lawful good.
Oh boy.
And then yeah, and then at one point it like really bothered some of the other characters that they didn't know where he was, and so they were prying and trying to figure that out, and he was able to just kind of shrug it off and deceive them to be like, oh, you don't need to worry about that. But like the characters were not they lacked trust at that point
Hmm.
because there was something that just didn't really add up with that. But it made for a very interesting party dynamic
Yeah, for
having
sure.
that.
And that's a good example of all the humans, the real life people, being on board with this particular character and knowing what they were getting into.
Yeah, exactly. So, John,
Yes.
what is a hero to you?
A hero. Oh my goodness. That is a very big question that I have a written response to. Um,
I would expect nothing less from you, my friend.
that's very flattering of you. I totally have something written for tonight's Exalted session. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for something like tonight's Exalted session, where you have admitted that you hardly need to do anything because we just keep providing so much for
You
you.
guys make my job easy.
Yeah, we make it easy, but for something like this, I can totally see you having taken the time to actually write up a response.
Yeah. When I was a young GM, I would spend hours and hours and hours like thinking of every possible outcome to a situation and then and then the different branching paths that those could lead out. And I don't know if I still have the document, but I went into like 3 layers deep of branching story paths that I predicted my players would get into. And you know what they did? None
None
of
of
them.
those. you had all these branches and they just dug a hole straight between all of them.
Mhm. Yep. So I really stopped like planning that thoroughly. Like I'll have an idea of like, hey, here's something I might throw at them, or here's where I could possibly see it going. But I've learned to be more improvisational in my uh
Yeah,
GMing, but that also means that I need to have a thorough knowledge of the system, the setting, the characters, so that if they do go a place that I wasn't expecting, that I can make something up on the fly.
yeah.
Or a tactic that I've been leaning more heavily onto is, and what do you find there?
Mm-hmm.
Let
Because
let the
it's
players.
collaborative.
It's
It's
collaborative, and
collaborative.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So speaking of heroes, um, to me, a hero is a person who gets done what needs getting done. But more importantly, they have the choice to do so, and they
Mm.
choose to go forward with it. Now, that may not always be a conscious choice, but a choice is made. So a hero chooses. Not
Yeah,
necessarily to be a hero, but to do it, whatever it is.
yeah, and it makes me think of something that I share with clients all the time when we're talking about some maladaptive coping mechanisms, and they're like,
Ooh,
I just,
ooh, ooh,
I
I'm sorry. Say that word again, please.
maladaptive coping
Yes.
mechanisms.
Oh, that's my inner linguist is dancing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And there are some of them where they will express it's like, I don't know why. I know I need to do something else, but instead I choose to do this. And I bring back to something that I learned from a pastor at a previous church that described it as if given the opportunity to do something that you need or something that you want, what are you going to choose to do? Overwhelmingly, you're going to choose to do what you want.
Yeah.
So it's like a hero, oftentimes having that choice of what do I need to do, what do I want to do, will forego the want and instead choose to go for what needs to be done.
And that is the harder choice. And that's what makes them a hero instead of a schmuck.
Yeah, yeah,
So
100%.
I've been exploring that with my two characters that I've been playing recently. So Galander the Wizard, um, especially starting off, he wanted to avoid danger. He wanted to stay out of scary caves, but he realized that he needed to fight off the dragons, to keep his friends or himself safer, ironically. And then with my other character, Autumn, he wants to um, basically be rid of this power that he's been given because that power makes him anathema in his faith's eyes. And but he knows that he needs to use these powers for good.
Mhm.
So it's been very interesting helping these characters make these hard choices.
Yeah.
Especially for myself. I want to play. I want to have games. I want to do magic. But I need to lesson plan. I need to grade. I need to do my college things. I need to mow the lawn because I'm hosting a barbecue on Monday. Um,
Yeah.
does that make me a hero? I don't know. I think that just makes me a responsible adult. But gosh,
But
maybe the
one,
definition of responsibility adult has just morphed into hero now,
maybe,
or the other way
but
around. I don't know.
but if you, I mean, if you think about it, what you had said is that a big dynamic of a hero is doing what needs to be done, and you make the hard choice.
Hmm.
Knowing that you're going to be hosting a barbecue on Monday, getting out there and mowing the lawn, that's not necessarily a hard choice.
Right. It's an inconvenient choice, but it isn't a hard
Yeah.
choice.
But taking that time to open up and be your genuine self to your parents when you were 19
Hmm.
years old, that was a hard choice.
It was. I wanted to keep the ruse up, but it needed to be said
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was eating me up inside, and they're my parents. I didn't feel it was right of me to keep the truth from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So being a responsible adult is being a responsible adult. Being a hero is being a hero, if you
Ah,
ask me.
great. I was a hero at 19. I don't know what I've done with it so far.
Well, based on what I've seen with your your influence within your classroom and the drama program, I have seen how much you have inspired a lot of these in the younger generation to be heroes.
Thank you. I needed that. I'm looking at this picture in my room. It's the same picture at the old house, right above the dining room table, the one with the deku tree.
Yes.
It says, "Some say you're just a teacher, but to us, you're our hero." And I can look at that and get a little punch of inspiration there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
now that's an interesting thing because helping with the drama program, that's an easy choice for me. Because I love it. I love working with those kids. I love helping them improve their skills. I love helping them put on wonderful shows. That's not a hard choice for me, but yeah. So I don't know. Does
It's
that make me heroic?
it's not a hard choice, but seeing how much effort you have to put into it and the hard work to try and get the kids where they need to be for the performance. Trust me, I have seen you on the weeks leading up to a performance, and you're like, oh,
These
they're
I
they're
love
just
these
not
kids, but they're
good.
driving me nuts.
Yeah,
Learn your gosh
that
darn lines.
but that is hard work. Yeah, the choice is easy for you to make because it is something that you enjoy doing.
Hmm.
But I imagine that if you were to interview like the students at Hogwarts, casting spells and everything, yeah, they love doing that. They love learning about this stuff. They love going to school, but then putting in the hard work to
Hmm.
use it appropriately to benefit society, to help others. That's kind of where I would draw that line.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, that sometimes like there's certain interests, certain hobbies that we want to do great things in, and we are willing to put in the hard work in order to make it great.
Yes,
Okay, good. You and I
absolutely.
agree.
Yep, we do. So, John, who
Yes,
is an
Marcus.
influential hero in your life, whether we're
That
talking fictional or non-fictional?
I would have to think more deeply to pick a fictional one because there's several out there. I can talk about one, but I'll talk about him first, and then I'd like to talk. Can I do two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So, so a fictional hero of mine, his name is Ged from the Earthsea series, if you
Hmm.
could call it. I think it's a tetralogy at this point. Um, but he starts off as young boy on an island, and he wants to learn magic. Can't tell you why I identify with that, but I do.
Oh, I can't understand why you identify with that.
I read this book for the first time in seventh grade, so I was 12-ish. So I was about his age. And so he uses magic to save his island from some raiders, and then they say, "Oh, you can do magic. You should go to a magic school." And he goes to a magic school and he learns how to do magic. And magic in this case is less alohomora. You're still using language, but you use the true names of things to
Mm,
create your spells. Um, what it does and what its limitations are. Because if you just say, "Hey, create a storm," then you're allowing the magic to make the choice, and the magic might be like, "Okay, I'll make a hurricane and just drain the life force out of you, Mr. Wizard." So you have to learn restrained and limitations. Eventually, though, he gets goaded into enacting a forbidden spell, and it causes this shadow demon to come up and roar, and then kill his best friend or something. Spoiler alert. But then he has to go on this quest to um, track down this shadow demon while also learning more about himself and the world around him. And it's a fascinating setting. I would love to play a D&D game based in this setting, but we'll get to that later. Um, but for fear of spoilers, it's a journey of self-discovery, and at the end, he has to not necessarily defeat the shadow monster, but reconcile with it. And I thought that was
mm,
really cool. It was a good
mm.
subversion on like, I am the wizard or I am the knight and I will slay the dragon. And then in the next book, he turns into more of a helper role rather than being the central character. He's now helping the new protagonist in her own quest.
Mm.
And now that I'm talking about this out loud, I'm realizing just how much of a core memory this is and how much it's influenced me. Um, and in the third book, he is the archmage of the the realm, and he again helps a young man with the same quest he went on when he was a boy. And
Mm.
then the fourth book takes a radically different tone and shift in focus, where it's again talking about somebody else as the main character, but the wizard has lost all of his powers. He
Oh.
performed a spell so powerful when it was needed, of course. I don't remember why he did it, but he did it in order to save Earthsea. But instead of his life force going, he has no more magic to cast. And
Oh,
so now he
interesting.
has to reconcile with himself and having no powers. And so we have this empty shell of a man trying to find new purpose in his life. And so I wish I could read them again, but I can't because the first one is cursed. The the
How so?
when I thank you. When I read it in seventh grade, it was great, but when I read it again when I was a freshman and a junior in college, I went through really rough patches in my relationships.
Oh,
But I'm
gotcha.
also wondering if like the magic of the book was like, hey, this is not meant for you. Separation and distance. So what I should do is read it again to, not that I need to test my relationship with Dan or anything, but it could be a fun experiment. Um, but Ged is a good fictional hero because he learns about himself, he reconciles with himself, and then once he's achieved his own goals, he doesn't lord it upon other people. He doesn't use it for personal gain. He uses it to guide and help other people. And yeah, that's I can't I it wasn't until now that I realized like it was deep in there.
Hmm.
Um, and then when we're talking about real life people, my grandma Sissy, her real name's Wilma, but she goes by Sissy because that's what her sisters called her. Um, she is the kindest person I know. Um, I believe she has exactly one mean bone in her body. Um, she life constantly gave her the short end of the stick.
Hmm.
Her father ran off when she was young. Then her stepfather was a drunk and was not nice to them. She's never said the extent, but she had to move from Oklahoma to California because of the economy at the time. Her husband divorced her immediately, almost immediately after my dad graduated from high school. Her daughter got into drugs. One son made relationship choices that were not great and ended up moving to another continent, and then lived with a man for many years who did not appreciate her. And yet, in spite of this, she was never anything but kind to me and my sisters and the rest of my family. Um, Literally, the only time I ever saw her be mean was in the aftermath of 9/11, where she imitated something that she saw in a political cartoon. It was like the Statue of Liberty giving Afghanistan the bird or something, but
Hmm.
literally she did not come up with that. So she was imitating somebody else being mean. Um, but she always took the time to support me in my interests like theater and band and Little League soccer. Um, I even taught her how to play Pokemon cards because she was just interested in what I was doing, and why she was buying these things for me. Um, but I think there. I don't want to speculate too much, but if we're using this want versus need
Hmm.
comparison, I'm sure there was times where she wanted to lash out, to um, vent her frustrations and such. But I like to think that she saw this new generation and saw it as an opportunity to instill positive values in them
Hmm.
versus this past and present generation and adjacent generation that didn't have it together. But this new generation, her grandchildren, they needed good role models.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, she's pretty awesome. All of my grandparents, except for one of them, just awesome people. I could talk to you about my grandpa and Grandma Miller, but we're gonna focus on the one because I don't have enough tears for all of them.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today. But yeah, your grandma's Sissy sounds like a really beautiful and wonderful person to have had that influence in your life.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Hmm.
That is so awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, John.
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
And I do have one final question.
Yes,
Is there anything that you wish that I would have asked or anything that you just want to share with our friend?
dear friend, never stop playing. It's what keeps you young. Be kind, use your word hole, make those tough choices.
It's all real good stuff there.
Well, thank you.
And I still laugh all the time whenever you say use your word hole. And like my first encounter with with that, not with that saying of using
Hmm.
your word hole, but it came from, oh, what was it, the second Avengers movie, I think, where
That was
like,
the one with Ultron?
yes,
Okay.
where like Thor comes flying in and grabs Tony Stark and is like going to just slam him up against the wall, and Tony's there. He's like, okay, okay, well, use your words, use your words.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, humans have an innate ability to learn language. I've learned in my college classes that language and speech, those are inherent. Reading is an acquired skill. Yes. But yes,
Yeah,
it is important to use our words because other animals have communication. I don't know if they have language.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's, use the thing that makes us special. We have these ginormous brains for a reason.
Hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, keeping those words within doesn't always solve the situation. It either makes it worse or just puts it off for later.
Yes, it does. And
Now,
like,
if I might,
mhm.
that being said, I have been guilty in the past of not saying the right thing at the time. I've learned to think about what I say before I say it, often t to the point of it's like, I've been thinking about this for 3 minutes and now the moment has passed. Oh dear. So, maybe use language to say, I need to think about this
Hmm.
to come up with a better, less reactive response.
Yeah, and on top of that, if we are using our language in order to communicate, I mean, let's face it, not everyone's going to be receptive to that.
Hmm.
You and I have had experiences, even just recently within our friend group, where we have had to hold a lot of space, a lot of honor for people's feelings. And when that has happened, it has only made us stronger. And
It's
it has only brought us together instead of pushing us apart.
It's true. Yes.
So yeah, use your word holes
Hmm.
and keep playing. I like that.
Keep playing.
Keep
Yes.
playing. It does keep us young. I'm almost
Yeah.
41 years old, and sometimes, my body keeps reminding me how old I'm getting. But at the same time, I also feel like whenever we get together and we're just playing and we're laughing and we're sharing these stories and these experiences, I just feel like I'm a little kid.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's, oh man, if you ever want to turn back time, just play. Really, just
Absolutely.
play.
Yeah. Life is too short to not have fun as often as you can. I mean, yes, work needs to get done, but life is too short to not have fun, and life's too short to live just one life.
Yes, a
I
hundred
feel
percent.
good about that.
I feel good about that too. Wow. Oh, I'm gonna have to chew on that for like the rest of the
Yes.
day.
And you can do that while you're playing another character.
Absolutely. While I'm playing Aliso.
Yes. Yes. Who has two lives?
Yes, two lives. One of them much
Wow.
more public than the other.
It's true.
It has been fun to play that kind of a character.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying
100%.
it.
Yeah.
Yay!
Well, John, I don't want to take up any more of your time
Oh,
because
I suppose.
I know that there's some prep work that needs to be done because in, you know, 5 hour, 4 hours or so, we're going to be coming over and sharing some food and fellowship and some games. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. But John, thank you
Likewise.
so much.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much for giving me this time here for us to just have this conversation.
And thank you for inviting me for a lovely chat.
Awesome. So we will see who is going to be on the hero study for next month. And I just, again, I feel like I say this all the time. Whenever I'm talking with you guys in person, I just can't stop thanking you. But I really just, I am so grateful.
You are most welcome, and the feelings are mutual.
So just as John was saying, just keep playing and use your word holes. And until next time, live strong for today.
Bye!